Oh, well, welcome on into the Pegasus Actual Podcast, folks. Tonight we're, a tad bit short-handed. Author Stephen Walton is on vacay. Jane, unfortunately, is working late because she's a hard-working lady and she couldn't make it. And, of course, our favorite
couldn't call in sick
pal,
either.
yeah, our favorite pal, Elaine, is feeling a bit under the weather tonight, so she can't make it as well. And, of course, Bear Nerd Fun will probably be along a tad late. So we are being the three amigos tonight, and we are bringing you the Pegasus Actual Triforce, pretty much. This is what we have here, the thrilling trio. So there it is. And I see some of our friends already in the chat. Angela Straven's here. Welcome, AD. And, of course, Lady Mist is here, which is great to see. And, my wonderful co-host, Script Dr. PhD, and my other wonderful co-host, Culture Casino. How are you, gentlemen?
Great.
Awesome. SD, I trust you're having a good day yourself?
No, I'm actually exhausted. I've only had 3 hours sleep.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll try to keep this as coherent as possible and, really have a good discussion today because I think I've kind of been looking forward to it this week, talking about this episode. This is the Captain's Hand, and we see some very interesting sort of things happen in Lee's development. We have a very good supporting character that is a one-shot character for this episode, but is very good. I thought so. A little bit.
It's Kevin McAllister's dad.
Yeah. The great John Hurd is in this episode. The late John Hurd. Very, very good actor in his own right. And we're going to have a good time talking about that because just right off the jump, some of the vibes I got, if you guys are familiar with that old movie, well, God, it's old now, Crimson Tide with Gene Hackman and it was Denzel, wasn't it? Gene Hackman and Denzel? Yep. Yeah, and I thought this episode drew quite a bit of parallel to that, and we'll kind of put that in as we go. But yeah, we pretty much as we start out, before the opening credits, we've got some Pegasus Raptors out on a training mission. And they're, chit-chatting back and forth, just normal ship operations type of thing. But to pay the attention to the Raptors is really what you're there for, watching that little portion. And then they cut over to the officer quarters in the Galactica. And Lee's in there with D. And obviously now they're a thing. Looks like Lee is recovering nicely from his bullet wound.
And too bad author Stephen Walton isn't here because this would be something he would talk ad nauseum about because it's Dee pretty much just by herself, like all in the all together, so to speak, with Lee just sitting on the edge of the bed remarking on his promotion from captain to major. And is a forthcoming assignment to the Pegasus because he's not rated to fly yet.
Yeah. I think and that promotion was the XO of the Pegasus to the new commander that was assigned. Yeah.
I thought it was like a temporary thing, right?
Yeah, it was a temporary.
Temporarily. Yeah,
it was a temporary thing, but clearly we see, romantically that things had definitely evolved between Apollo and D for sure. So
yeah, and I think Stephen would, as Script pointed out, would definitely point out that D does look quite lovely in this scene.
Oh God, dude, yeah, she is looking hot. She is looking like really good this episode, no lie. Like she just, she's a beautiful woman to begin with, but Candace McClure,
Yeah, but
she's just,
carries well. She's always what's really great about her is she's able to carry the character the entire time, as the character gets more and more fleshed out, I mean her depth of performance is incredible. But she does a really good job of conveying her affinity for Lee. I mean, it feels like a genuine romantic attachment, and so many actors and actresses are capable of having that. I think they call that chemistry. I think there seems to be some chemistry there. Yep.
yeah. Script, any sort of observations about the evolution romantically so far between Dee and Apollo?
Well, it's something of an about face, really, because like it had a few of its hints earlier on in this season, but from just us on a casual observer's perspective, you would assume that it'd be Billy and Dee for the time being. That would eventually be the hookup towards the end, and then they throw this kind of curve where, okay, now I guess the idea is when you rewatch this series, you kind of get a hint that there might be something deeper when they try to rescue Rosalind from the brig, and Dee is one of the key players in that, and it's him and Dee sort of working together and developing a new relationship from that. And what we see here from Lee is that he's not exactly treating this like a casual thing as he did with the other women that he's been with. Specifically, the prostitute he was with, who he was forcing a deeper relationship than what was actually there. But in this case, there seems to be something a bit more mutual on it. It's not just for kicks. There might be something actually there.
Well, and it was brought even farther forward at the end of the last episode, with Billy having been killed, and Dee sitting on the edge of the bed telling Lee, you have to stay. You really have to stay at the end of the episode. And I mean, obviously the progression of that relationship moved right along during his recovery. So, and going back to when they used to box and train together and everything else, I just, of course they had to step it up because the character was, written off the show, that she had that romantic affinity for, previously. So, but I always felt like these two were very, very well matched in the show, and I think they did a good job with it. Anyway, I could talk about that forever.
Yeah, well, they practiced boxed, and then Lee got in her box, so that's how it went. Hi Adega, hi Culture, great to see you, and of course our compatriots Wes Moody of the Wes Moody webcast, and McKinney 90, wonderful friend and great artist in this community, is also in the chat, and of course our esteemed buddy Parrothead, that just one of the people along with Lady Mist and Speaker that make this chat go. So that's awesome. All right. We get into a little different part of the episode now, where we're on the hangar. We see a scene on the hangar deck where there's a crate, that strange crate on the hangar deck, and they're wondering what's in there. I think somebody possibly could be in there, or whatever it is. It's a
How
cargo
did this crate
crate.
get aboard? I can't remember. Was it part of a shipment or?
They didn't really, one thing about this episode script, if you noticed, they just kind of went into this hangar deck beat, and they didn't really explain how it got there, to be honest.
Yeah, I was wondering if that, because that threw me off.
So you didn't miss anything. No, they really didn't explain how this got in there.
Yeah, how the shipping container showed up, and from that point forward, that I guess we just assumed that it arrived, in cargo, between the interacting with the fleet.
So then, of course, Chief's poking around in the container. He's got a flashlight, and he's looking what's going on, and he finds a stowaway in there, a young woman, and of course, she asks if this is a Galactica, and the Chief confirms that, and says that she needs to see Dr. Cottle. She's obviously she's holding her stomach. She's pregnant. And we know that okay, there's going to be something more to this episode after that little sequence. What did we think of when we saw this crate and them finding the young woman in there?
Well, like I said, I mean, the first thing that she, I guess I didn't say it yet, but like I was thinking, the first thing she did was ask for Doc Cottle, or asked, "Are you Doc Cottle?" or whatever. I mean, obviously she was there for a purpose, and being pregnant and she wants to see a doctor, you know, you have to assume, you know, something medical. So, and, you know, that's what I was thinking. So it's just that seems an odd way to try to find a doctor.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, but it also seems like an odd way to set up this type of a story. It didn't feel very natural. It felt kind of like tacked in. Because before we even get to this part, if memory serves, those two Raptors on their training cruise pick up a distress call, and because they're in a portion of space that disrupts their communications, the Pegasus doesn't know what happened to them when they jump light speed away.
Yeah, you know, it was weird that sequence came before cutting back to the Raptors, which is our next thing, as Script Doctor mentioned, because it cuts right back to the Raptors, and you're like, wait, huh? You know, it's like two really radically different things. And,
no, that's one of the weird criticisms I have of this episode. Is it feels like it's two different episodes that didn't quite have enough to be its own individual episode, sort of wedged together. So yeah, I mean, it just felt a little uneven, unbalanced compared to everything that we've seen before.
Yeah, and it always I'm not a big fan of, like, you know, Dratus doesn't work under these circumstances because it seems to happen too often. You know, and it's always just, you know, on the writing side of things, you know, because Ragnarok Anchorage was was picked out for a specific reason because of the radiation and how it interfered with Dratus. So that's always one of the other things that bothers me is, you know, when they need something to create an air of
right,
whatever, that's, you know, Dratus isn't working because we're near some magnet or something, some magnetic force.
Yeah,
right. But yeah, you know, I can see your point, definitely, Script, that that this episode would have been even better had this portion like not been tacked in this way. You know, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, because the little backstory with the woman in the crate. I mean, that was a heavy sort of. I thought a heavy sort of subject that should have been taken a little longer to explain. And I don't think, like, you know, using it as I guess an underlier in the overall.
it was used as filler technically.
Yeah, and yeah, it should have been bigger. I mean, do you agree?
I think they could have explored a lot more, because we're starting to see cultures that have survived from the 12 colonies. This one in particular was Geminon. And apparently the Geminis are uber religious to the point where they don't disassociate the rights of the individual versus the given blessings of God, of the gods, so to speak.
Right.
So there's a lot of fun debate that you can have in that, and I think the subject matter that they addressed and the reasons for the decisions that Rosalind made as we get there are very justified and make perfect logical sense under the circumstances. Like there's lots of reasons to argue both the perspectives of what's going on with this, but the other part too is that you have to sort of be true to your values and then start knowing the difference between encouraging one thing and compelling another. And that's kind of what was really interesting about this story that didn't get a chance to really breathe in the way I think best could best be served. And then on top of that, you then have the opposite story, which is basically a search and rescue combat mission. And it just, they don't marry well together.
No, it really didn't. And and I could see that, because it's like you said, it's almost like this should have been tackled in 2 separate episodes, not cobbled in with this, because you could have had a different underlying story that fit better with this particular subject matter.
Well, let's get into the part where the new commander of Pegasus has his issues with Starbuck, who's currently aboard conducting some of these training protocols. And that could have been further explored, because it was really, they had like maybe 2 or 3 scenes at most together, and they were just repeating the same beats over and over again. So it didn't really do a whole lot. And even though Mr. McAllister, Commander McAllister, I'm calling him that, had some fair arguments and points for how he liked to run things, he in any normal situation that wasn't combative, he would be correct. With regards to the organization, the responsibilities of each individual, knowing how things work, why they work, and how to tackle those problems. They're all very astute things for a commander. And I think the story of him being tested for where those behaviors truly belong within the whole of what running a Battlestar is like, showed him a good arc and understanding of his position. And I think it just came with such a rushed pacing because they weren't able to dedicate the full hour of this episode to that story. They had to cut it in half to work on something else, because it basically just felt like, okay, we need to talk about Adama, Admiral Adama and Rosalind, and with regards to what's going on with the colonies and how these laws are doing. And now we're finally getting to the re-election, so we know it's basically coming to a closure of 6 months in the fleet of them living this way. So there's going to be a new election for a new president of the colonies. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things being thrown at this in a very not the best of organized manners.
No, this was a little hodgepodge. I agree. Want to say hail to Darth Haster. Welcome, buddy. Great to see you, Haster. And I saw that Deviant Porg snuck in here. It's great to have you, my friend. Always good to see you, Palanuki. And yeah, man, we're just all of our regular audience is still floating in, and I love it. There we go. So, okay, we'll get back to the next thing here. Let me see where we're at. So, Lee arrives on the Pegasus. You could see after the opening credits, he's walking, down the corridor in the Pegasus. Of course, Starbuck's waiting to greet him, and he meets Garner, and Garner, of course, briefs him on the situation. I like what he dresses down Kara right in front of Lee, which is like, damn, man, he was savage.
Well, how did he do it? Like, what's someone, not everybody in our chat may have seen that, really, but like, how did he dress him down? Like he didn't just dress her down for basic stuff. He called her out for not meeting the responsibilities of what her position holds, not communicating.
Yeah, he basically said, be be a friggin' CAG and be in the loop of what's going on with your squadrons, because he he said, like, right there, if you would have been in the loop what's going on, you would have known that we lost 2 birds, basically, to paraphrase what he said. And the look on her face, it was just priceless. She was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, she definitely got caught with her pants down. And the weird thing is that's a very one-sided perspective, because we don't know what Starbuck was doing prior to that. Was she just waiting for Lee to arrive?
Well, but additionally, I mean, there was a ban on the discussion of operational details with Kara Thrace that he put in place to begin with. So he kind of put her in that position to be uninformed for over an hour that there were 2 missing pilots from these Raptors that disappeared when they got a distress call. So it was, she was dressed down, sure, but she was ambushed. She was presented with information she did not have, nor would she have been given, because she was left out of the loop intentionally because of this commander. So there's a lot of fault on both sides here, and it's very clear in this scene. I mean, Lee's being brought up to speed.
Well, she's an outsider. He doesn't like that. She thinks that he's a scrub. He's an engineer and shouldn't be in command, and she doesn't really dig him or respect him. So there's already friction, for different reasons. And then, we come to find out, like, here we get into the next scene, which is Kara goes down to the pilot's, sort of shower area and whatnot. And she asks, why was I not informed this happened?
Well, the officers don't even give her an answer. She ends up having to sort of deduce it based on their reactions, their silence, as it were. And we're left to assume that her assumptions are correct. And later on, it gets reinforced. But for the time being, she's kind of running on like as little information as possible, which also in a way kind of supports her assumption. If they're not going to be able to talk to her about what's going on, even in this situation, then they're not going to talk to her about anything. And so she's going to be constantly ambushed and embarrassed by this commander.
And of course, she opens up her mouth even worse.
Yeah. And she's like, whoa, okay, paranoid and incompetent. In a room full of, flight officers, it's like, okay, you already know there's a problem, but of course, that's Kara. That's just Kara.
That's Kara. She's like, I don't care, I'll call you a son of a bitch behind your back and it'll get back to you. I don't give 2 shits. I'll say it in front of your face too. She's feisty, that one. And it's just crazy because it's just the way that she came out with that. It's like, just every time I see this episode, I like chuckle about that, because she's like, so barely confident, barely confident and paranoid. Yeah, that's a hell of a combination. Like right in front of them, knowing it's going to get back to him. Oh God, that's priceless. Hey, hail Bruce Lombardo, and hail Jason C. Great to see the both of you. Hope you guys are having a great evening, and thanks for joining in this discussion. So, any thoughts before we move ahead, fellas?
Well, it's interesting to see how Kara is kind of still bucking against authority, as she kind of did a little bit with Ty, and to a very lesser extent with the previous admiral, whose name Admiral Karen. But yeah, she just hasn't broken that habit yet. And the thing is that even though she has this habit, this new commander is kind of getting under her skin with the embarrassing tactics. He can give her a run for her money, which is nice to see, and Lee acknowledges that.
But at the same time, I mean, this is part of Kara's character. Is she, and I, at least from what I see, she does that bucking of authority because she doesn't respect. If she doesn't respect you, she won't give you that respect. She will, if she thinks less of you, she won't treat you as an equal. So,
Yes.
And it looks like Bear's in the back.
Oh, okay. Well, let's bring in Bear Nerd Fun.
I was about to fucking leave.
How you doing there, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. I just about an hour ago, I found a guy playing acoustic guitar and playing electric guitar on Facebook. Pretty fucking cool.
Nice.
Got a little distracted with that, and I was kind of writing some lyrics and listening to that and checking up on Twitter DMs at the same time. And then I looked up and realized what time it was.
Well, we've got a comment from Bruce Lombardo, and he said, Kara is that good pilot that is great at what she does, but she has her own head on how things work. And
yeah, she's stubborn.
Hey, Bear Nerd Fun, says
Hey.
Lombardo. Yeah.
How you doing, Bruce?
And Lady Mist says hello.
Hi, Lady Mist. How you doing?
So, alrighty. Well, we get into Garner's explanation. He's got Lee in his quarters. First thing he says, I have a problem, and that problem's name is Carrot Thrace. The first thing. But he makes the point to Lee, hey, listen, I'm not going to cut her any slack because she's a great pilot, because nobody cut us any slack in the engine room, because Garner obviously was an engineer. And I kind of found that fascinating. I actually, in this episode, I liked Garner as a character, even though he is very short-lived. I don't know what your thoughts on that work culture and what your
I got some thoughts too,
and what yours are, Bear. But I like Gardner as a character.
I didn't.
Well, I thought that he kept crawling back to the same concept of the order and everything that he was used to in his former position, and not taking into account that he's changed his entire role of responsibilities. So I thought that he did a good job of the actor did a good job of showing that character flaw. When it came to being a command officer, but because he always kept, and you were right, he kept referring back to, that's not how we did things in the engine room, et cetera, et cetera. So, and like you said, I mean, I enjoy the character, and right here during this part, he's very clear, and he's correct, and I think Script would agree that she needs to actually follow orders and go along and do things properly. So, or maybe I'm wrong, but that's
he's encouraging for teamwork, because that's what his entire speech in that room is about. Everybody has their job, their things, they know how to do what they do. They have to work together, and Kara is definitely not one that does that on reflex. She knows how to lead, but her own stubbornness takes her to be kind of a hot shot, and we saw that also not in the last episode, but the one previous with Scar, how she has to struggle sometimes with allowing someone else to sort of win the glory, as it were.
Yeah.
So this is part of her character development, where she's finally facing off against a commander that isn't going to put up with her crap, but at the same time wants her to sort of cooperate, but he's not going to make it easy for her, because he knows the type of person she is. And he's not in the wrong when talking about her behaviors and her lack of respect for the command chain, because even Lee Adama says, I can't really defend her on that. But
he was being a wimp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he was being a wimp.
Lee was not really strong-willed at all.
This guy was an engineer. He kept things running. He was the head engineer, and evidently he never went to officer school, and he never learned officers etiquette. If he did, he fucking forgot it. And the one thing that he did, he's got a weapon in Starbuck. She's a blunt weapon, and that's what you use her for. And he wasn't listening to her. He was listening to his prejudices. And he ignored a very good, useful weapon. And she was trying to tell him things, and he was not listening. Now,
Oh yeah, when she figured out what the actual
Lee
message back was.
Lee wasn't listening either, and he knew better. He knew she was right, and so this guy doesn't understand that you don't call your CAG out in front of the whole crew on the bridge. You don't do that. It's against etiquette as an officer. You call her in private and you talk to her in private and you get the gist. He didn't do that. He embarrassed her, embarrassed himself by the way he behaved and the way he acted. Officers don't act that way. They don't behave that way.
Well, yeah, Bear, he dressed her down in the entire CIC.
It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Completely. Adama made a huge mistake by making him the commander of that ship. Somebody from the Galactica should have been made commander. He was trying to save face and save feelings on the Pegasus. This isn't a time for feelings. It's a time to make a decision and put someone that will make the right decisions as commander of the Pegasus.
Damn, I like it. Bear's on fire tonight.
Well, when I was watching this episode, there were some things that just really pissed me off. And the commander, he's a great guy. He's a great engineer. He steps up when he's in his environment. Mm-hmm. Being a commander of a Battlestar, that was not his environment. You say something was impossible to fix in engineering, he's like, fuck that, I can fix it. You're wrong. That's who he was. And he was outside of his element completely.
Yeah, well, he knew every single thing that was running down there from stem to stern and then some. So, it
took him to save the frickin' day to get them the hell out of there.
I mean, the guy was like basically, he was one of them like uber engineers that just knew everything about everything. He was a miracle worker type dude,
Yeah. But I recognize that in him as an engineer. And he knew. He knew exactly what was wrong, and the guys down in engineering, they couldn't figure out exactly what it was. He knew right where to go.
Yeah.
And he gave his life for it, too.
Yeah.
So the man was commendable. He was just extremely out of his element.
We're kind of getting way ahead on the episode, guys.
Yeah. So to get back to
it was me this time.
Yeah. To get back to our center point, though, as we had just gone from that sequence, we cut over to Colonial 1, and of course we see Rosalind sitting there, and we find out right away that by the way, Billy's been replaced. She's got a new aide now since Billy's untimely passing, and for the first time we meet Tori, which I don't know. I like Rekha Sharma as an actress, but I did not like the character of Tori too much.
Good. You weren't supposed to.
Yeah, I don't believe you're supposed to either.
I think
you're supposed to be cold and calculating.
Yeah, very much so. And that's and she, later on it will tell you why, but she's very she's very good at playing that character. You don't have to like her. In fact, you probably shouldn't. She's not friendly.
No, I know.
Not at all.
And
very aggressive.
She has a very good resting bitch face. If you ever taken screen caps of BSG episodes, boy, you can get some great resting bitch face caps from Tori.
She's got a stare, man, that'll melt iron.
Yeah, she does. So
great actress.
We kind of learn that she was similar to today. She worked for basically a pack, something like that, because she said that she was a precinct captain for the Federalist Party, which I'm assuming that kind of runs along the lines of the Democrats. So she kind of almost sounds like Chicago politics to me. It's kind of an organizer almost. I don't know. That's what I got out of it when she was explaining.
Yeah, no, you're right when she's talking about her political background.
Yeah.
Of course, she was able to conduct a poll, which of course Rosalind is surprised by because of her previous political experiences, and that they essentially were polling on what the mayor should eat for lunch, I think was the line that she used in the episode.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I didn't know they had polls for what you should eat. That was new. Actually, it was slightly amusing, actually.
No, I think she meant it in a facetious way. So.
Oh yeah. I liked Rosalind's the way she kind of looked at it. I found it amusing. Rosalind's got a sense of humor. Dry, but it's there. I like it.
Well, I find the next interaction very interesting because after we get the little introduction to Tori, which is really kind of neither here nor there, it's just to introduce the character, we move to a very interesting segment, and that is with Gaius and with Zarek discussing politics and what's going on. And, Zarek, he said, hey, I used to think about leading this fleet, but he basically says at this point he knows better that that's not going to happen. But he said, I know a man that could, and he's sort of going over that with Gaius, and he's explaining to Gaius, look, you're a pre-sold candidate. And I wanted to get your guys' take what you thought of this conversation between Zarek and Gaius.
I had an epiphany about Baltar. All right, you know the most sleaziest components to Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
That's Baltar.
Okay.
Remove the suit and all that stuff, and the fact that he's basically a computer expert and a technological expert. And I had the epiphany. I go, this is an evil Tony Stark, basically, with moments of clarity and every now and then some goodness. I had that epiphany. And, Zarek sees him for what he is, and Zarek's going to use him for his own designs and aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, Script Doctor, I know you got something to say.
Well, yeah, Zarek's using Baltar to split the vote.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That's exactly what he's doing, and it's very reflective of what we saw around 4 years ago with the U.S. election.
Well, but there's the other thing that I figured you would touch on, Script, and that's the fact that obviously Zarek is angling for a VP role.
As a second choice, especially. Like, if anything, he's still. My understanding from this episode is that Zarek's still running, but he knows he's most likely not going to win. So his job is to sort of manipulate Baltar into running also, so it splits the vote, and therefore he might come out on. He has a better chance of coming out on top.
Right.
That's pure political strategy right there. Just get your enemies to sort of divide amongst each other so that you can sweep the election, so as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Lombardo points out some things, and he likes good drink.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest part is Tony Stark, his humanity. Yeah, and we noticed that Baltar, he's only got like maybe 1 or 2% of that going on.
Yeah, Culture. What your thoughts?
I'm not sure I can add much. Script kind of took the air out of it, and Bear, destroyed the balloon entirely. But it's just here's the thing. You can tell Zarek is a manipulative person. Since this very introduction, you knew that he was, that was his whole MO. So any opportunity he could take to secure any kind of advantage, whether it be political or otherwise, he's going to do it. He is a manipulative, shrewd political mind. At a point in time, this is a person who had given up on his own life to a certain extent. Early on when we were introduced to him, and has actually kind of forged a new life for himself in a different way right now, and is kind of forcing his way into the political sphere. Despite the fact that he was just recently a criminal, so it's pretty interesting. Yeah, but no, like I said, I can't add anything other than to say, yeah, okay, yes, he's a bastard and he's smart.
Yeah, Zarek is really good at manipulating. So, getting back to the Pegasus pilot's briefing room, Apollo walks in and he's trying to figure out what's going on, get everybody starting to work, and Apollo kind of makes it known. You can start to see in Lee the seeds of a good commander. And he's telling the pilots, hey, listen, you can squawk about and bellyache about Garner, but you need to lock that shit up now. We need to find these raptors. And he starts getting everybody on task, and he makes an interesting comment here where he says, we need to think outside the box, which is what you do best. And he looks at Kara. And I thought that was a great, it's one of my nice little scenes that I enjoy in this episode.
Yeah.
So now we get into a very interesting portion of the episode. And this is what Script Doctor was alluding to earlier. We find out that Raya, or whatever this girl's name is, the Geminese girl that stowed away in the shipping crate, well, she's there to, get an abortion. And so we see as Raya's sitting there in the clinic on board the Galactica, Coddle and Admiral Adama are having a conversation, and Coddle explains, "Yeah, I've been doing procedures. The people seek me out, and I do my work, and they're on their way." So apparently, he's been doing this for a little while now.
Well, he didn't say that specifically. He just says he doesn't ask questions when it comes to their patients that seek him for any medical treatment, because it's not always his business. He just gets it. He's under a time constraint with what he can do in a day. So he does what he does. He doesn't ask questions and moves on. And Adama's like, well, maybe you should start asking questions. And you can tell Coddle has something to say in retort to that, but doesn't, because there's more to this story than what's typical for what Coddle's been doing wherever he goes. Because again, he's the only major doctor in the entire fleet, so he's handling about 56,000 people.
Yeah, you're talking about the conversation between Adama and Coddle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Adama just thinks that Coddle should take a little bit more interest in his patients.
Yeah.
And Adama's looking more on this situation more as this is a stowaway who's now a criminal, as opposed to getting all the details, because he doesn't really know the details of this yet. He's thinking like, okay, is this person snuck aboard his ship? Are other people sneaking aboard his ship? And if Coddle's not answering that's kind of a concern to him for security reasons, of course. And then what ends up happening is when he talks to the patient, he gets a little bit more information, and we understand the full context of what's going on after that.
And then
Adama kind of insists Coddle start asking more questions.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like a command.
Exactly.
And then Cottle puts his foot in it. This is the first time we really see Cottle put his foot in it, because he goes and while Adama's having a talk with the young girl, again, I think Raya's her name or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head what the.
Doesn't matter.
But anyhow, Adama's having a conversation with the young lady, and Cottle's just standing in the back doing whatever, and then he said, well, she's a victim of political persecution. She can apply for asylum. And Adama gives him that look like, you shut the fuck up.
It was, I'm going to stare holes in you, now I'm going to walk away before I hit you.
Yep, but Cottle did that for the right reasons. He helped inform a patient that needed help. That's what a doctor kind of does. I mean, regardless of the origin situations, like she may not have known that, so she could have been persecuted.
You could see in Adama's mind, I meant ask questions, not make statements.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right. And in that moment, I mean, as Cottle walks away, you know that he knows that he stepped on the line. He maybe didn't step over the line. So
that look on his face was priceless after.
But remember, Cottle's holding all the cards on his end. He's needed more in this fleet than anyone else.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even if he gets in trouble, like we all know, he's not going to get in a whole lot of trouble because he's like critical.
Not only that, he wouldn't even consider that trouble. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm just saying what I should say. So what? You don't like it? Too bad. I'm going to smoke my cigarettes over here."
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. So, it was funny though. That look on his face was pretty priceless. I do have to say. And so then we cut back to Colonial One. Adama, the president, are there, and they're talking to the representative from Gemini. And she wants the girl to have the parents don't.
They want the girl to go back under the custody of the parents and then do whatever they want to do on their end. And the daughter doesn't want to do that because she has her own perspective and her own point of view of what she wants to do with her life. Mm-hmm. And this all comes down to support for Rosalind as president. If Rosalind screws this up, she's not going to get the Gemini's vote, and therefore she could probably lose re-election. So she's put in a difficult bind as well. And at the same time, what the Geminis are asking of her challenges what she has been, what her views are politically have been for her entire political career. So yeah, like it puts her in a nice dramatic quandary.
Yeah. It's funny when right after that exchange and the representative is leaving, I like the comment that Adama makes where because Tori says, well, I'm going to hurry up and arrange a conference call with you and the quorum. We got to get out in front of this thing and move fast. And because Rosalind has said as much that she's not going to turn the girl over. And Adama.
Well, she's also enacting the existing law that's currently in place, right? So
exactly.
and that's her responsibility as the president is that, well, I can't go back on that just for this one issue. Like there's more. It's more complicated than just a simple. Okay, we're going to turn everything to a different direction. So she's kind of following through with her oath of office at this point, but she knows that there's going to have to be a decision and repercussion of this later, because after her new chief of staff leaves and that happens, Adama and her sit down, and Adama has to remind her that number behind her on the wall doesn't grow that often.
But I like the comment script, and I know you had to have gotten a chuckle out of it because I always get a chuckle when I watch this episode. I watch this episode. I've seen this episode a number of times. It's one of my favorites. But I like when Adama said, "Well, she's not Billy."
Oh yeah.
That was a great comment. But
Okay. I mean, it's a matter of fact one.
Yeah.
We barely know her, so there's not a whole, other than the fact that she seems to be way more confident and way more quick on action than Billy. Yeah, that's about all we really get out of her. I mean, it's an appropriate line to say because they obviously know this woman a little bit more better than we do. So.
Yeah.
But no, Adama then brings up the thing that Rosalind said at the very beginning of the series, like, it's about survival. We need to start having babies. And Adama doesn't want to make the decision, of course, to compel someone to have the child, especially one that they don't want. But he's also bringing up the concept that we need to start encouraging our people to procreate if we're gonna make it. And it's also a difficult thing to sort of come to terms with because living among the fleet is already hard enough as it is. Once you start bringing more like children into it as well, it gets more difficult because you're starting to reduce in space, reduce in resources. You then have to start building an infrastructure for education that may not exist because it's just a bunch of ragtag ships wandering almost aimlessly in space, looking for a planet that may or may not exist at this point. So there's a lot of risk into this part that needs to be addressed, and you can just see the weight on Rosalind's face when he reminds her of that. And,
because here you got a woman that's been, pro-choice all of her political career, and then she's in a situation where she has to really, rethink her position, which is something that normally she would not do because that's just,
because population concern is not an issue. Hasn't been an issue before. Yeah.
But now the survival is the issue, and she has to put serious thought into like, whoa, wait a second, time out here. Maybe it's maybe I better think about this, and she's right. So, all right. Any other thoughts about that sequence, guys? That conversation between Rosalind and Adama.
No, but I will reiterate what we've already talked about here, and that is she is in a position for the survival of the species, and despite the actions that she might take that may change her political future, she still has to act as a good leader, or at least she should act as a good leader to preserve humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, not just humanity, but the rights of humanity that make us human, right? So. Yeah, and in some regards, from especially the Gemini's perspective, those two things don't reconcile as easily. And I guess this sort of takes us over to when she talks to Baltar about the projections, right?
Yeah. And this is funny, not to get off the topic, but you guys remember when we were discussing last week, and I believe we discussed it a little bit on Comics Stream, about the really goofy way that they present such a heavy sort of topic in like that stupid Unpregnant movie, and then you have a really good dramatic TV show that raises the question in a compelling way with absolutely no disrespect toward either view. Just, it raises the question in a compelling way and looks at the subject in a way that isn't like stupidly and just immaturely presented.
Well, it's not lackadaisical. It's not basically a road trip that's using this subject matter as a hook. This is about something that's far more in depth with regards to what it means for the survival of the species, and what it also means to, like, what are going to be the future repercussions of this if this all suddenly changes? Because there's a lot of things that Rosalind has to think about. We get a little bit to that at the end of the other episode where she makes her speech, but before that point, yeah, she has to realize, like, okay, whatever laws that she manages, she might change in regards to this situation. Those could have far-lasting effects beyond just finding the home planet, but like to the rest of the civilization that we build on that planet. Does she really want to reset and change that direction to something that's going to be where the government is interfering actively with how people, procreate? Because that's what happens when you get outside of a pro-choice concept. You are basically having an authority dictate how people are reproducing.
Right.
Whether it's basically, mandatory abortion or mandatory having the child, that's still a third party making the decision for the individual, which is an infringement on the liberty rights of what we have, not just in our own society, but also with what's established in the colonies, right? So, but the other part too is the thing that we don't have to deal with in our reality, but what they have to deal with in the show is the fact that Adama's right. That number gets smaller a lot faster than it grows.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that has to be considered. And yeah, so it's a good subject. That's why I think the subject of the Pegasus, this one should have deserved its own complete episode to address it better.
I 100%, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Script. I thought it would have been fascinating. All right, if you want to go ahead and get into the next sequence where Kara's going over the Raptor logs, gentlemen, I need to step away to the restroom for just a second. So if you want to pick that up, Script, go right ahead.
Yeah, I guess so. Kara's pulling everything she can get on the Raptor pilots to sort of get in their head, figure out who they are as people and pilots, and then determine what might have happened. And one of the officers there hands her the last transmission from one of the pilots, and we see the transcript, and it's all broken up, and so she's starting to play around with what these words could mean. And most of the consensus is that the Raptors were calling as a distress to the Pegasus, but Kara thinks that they're responding to a distress call they heard somewhere else, and she wants to go with that theory. And that kind of leads, when she's about to bring it up to the commander, he kind of just shuts her down. But Adama kind of thinks that her theory is correct, and that the Raptors kind of fell for a Cylon trap. And the commander's kind of the mind that, yeah, we're going to go get my officers. That's what a good commander does. And he's not wrong in that regard. Like, you want to preserve the lives of the people under your command. You want to rescue them if they're in trouble. But he's not considering the fact that this could be an ambush against the Pegasus if he were to go. He's of the mind that, no, it's probably not like that. It's probably something else. He's in a kind of a form of denial. So what do you guys want to have to contribute regarding that culture?
Well, it goes from there. It moves on from there. I mean, he gets up in Kara's business and calls her out immediately after that interaction, right? And then says that you're inspiring mutiny on my ship. I forget what he said, but after the interaction between the two, between Kara and the other pilot, I mean, it's very clear that what happened was they received a distress signal. It was, she wasn't making huge assumptions, and taking that to the command through the command structure, she's been told that she needs to follow by both Garner and by Lee, and then she's ignored out of hand. So she's not going to be super thrilled, and at the same time, I can see where Garner's coming from, but he's not looking at it clearly, and he's not listening to an experienced pilot who's telling him that they've seen these tactics from the Cylons before, because the Galactic had different experiences than the Pegasus. And again, since he's not a deck officer, he may not have been privy to all of the things that were happening on the decks of the Pegasus or these types of tactics before. So, and as Bear pointed out, perhaps he didn't go through a proper, command training.
To add what you're saying, he would have had to admit that he was wrong.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
why.
Yeah, you
That's
know what?
why
That's
he.
probably a better
That's
way to
why
say
he
it.
didn't follow Adama's orders.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and we haven't even gotten there yet. I mean, but you're right. I mean, Lee is
Well,
Lee
Lee's
is
supporting Kara as well, like because he's already
yeah,
heard this story. Yeah.
yeah. He already
Yeah, Garner
understands.
would have had to have admitted that he was wrong.
Yeah.
That was.
No, you're
that
100%
was.
right.
That was part of the problem, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What I could add to that, except that it's as this conversation goes, it doesn't go well for Kara. So.
No.
It doesn't.
In a lot of ways, I think she's a victim. In some ways.
Well, she's definitely
she
being
had great
disenfranchised
advice.
to a point. Yeah.
Yeah, she was not listened to, and the thing about a commander, normally when he's in a situation, first thing a good commander asks, suggestions.
Especially if they don't know
Yeah.
exactly what's
Yeah.
going on. They want other interpretations to sort of see if there's something they're missing and round out the entire situation to get a better perspective.
You got a whole bunch of people surrounding you that's got all this experience. Suggestions, anybody?
Yeah, benefit from it, exactly. And then what ends up happening? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Culture.
No, I was just going to say, but his experience as an engineer is that he has all the information all the time.
Yep.
I mean, he knows what he knows how the ship operates. He knows all these things. So he's a very closed-minded thinker, very closed circuit brain. He's not open to any of these
Abstract.
other possibilities.
Yeah.
He doesn't exactly, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Mechanical engineering.
Yeah, he doesn't solicit for those opinions like Bear was saying. So I think, I mean, we're on fire right now. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I also think it had part to do with the mesmerizing beard that Bear is sporting right now. I just can't help but look at it when he talks. It's a good look on you, sir. I'm envious. I can never grow a beard that well. So this ends up going to so the commander's reporting to Adama of what's going on, that the two Raptors are gone. They think it's a distress call, and he wants to light speed jump to rescue his birds. And Adama's like, you know what? It could be a trap for Cylons, but send 6 Raptors, 4 on support and 2 on retrieval, and get a bearing of what's going on. And you can see from the commander's reaction that he's not happy about this, because that's basically what was recommended to him by Kara and Lee. Subtly, it was not as direct, but they're pretty much insinuating that we can't jump the Pegasus to the coordinates. And so what ends up happening is he kind of has to get all that prepped, and he dismisses Lee and gets Kara to go down under to, I guess, partake in some part of that mission. And we think everything's going to go hunky-dory there.
So basically, if I would have found myself in his position, I would have had someone jump in just a little, a half click away. Mm-hmm. And I would have like 4 Raptors staged that way. So if that 4th Raptor gets in trouble, they signal to the 3rd Raptor. The 3rd Raptor signals to the 4th Raptor. That 4th Raptor hightails it and says, hey, this is what's going on. That's what should have happened.
Oh, have like a little domino effect, a chain of communication, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if something was wrong, they would know.
Well,
so you got 4 stages, 4 layers.
Well, again, what we know of TV, guys, you know why they didn't do that? It's in the script.
Yep.
Well, it's not only that.
They needed a script doctor.
Well, not only that, it's part of the character's flaw that he doesn't work that way. He doesn't work on abstract. He's an absolutist. Right. He's like, it's the right tool for the right job. There's no improvisation or in his line of work from his perspective, which is actually kind of a little counter to a lot of the engineers that I know, which whenever they're in a situation that they can't fix something and they can't find the tool, they use whatever the hell's at hand and make it work for the time being until so that they can go get the proper tool and come back and fix it correctly.
Hey, let's use duct tape and spit.
Duct tape, spit. Oh, I've seen a guy repair a water main with a couple of spanners and duct tape, and then rush to a hardware store to get the proper replacement, come back and switch it out.
Always have Gorilla duct tape in your toolbox. Always have a couple of things of JB Weld, the putty. Always have the liquid version of JB Weld.
Yep.
And in a pinch, you can repair some stuff with that.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
no
definitely
lie
do a
there.
patch job that'll buy you like 5 to 10 hours.
You wouldn't believe how many mufflers I saved myself from having to buy with some JB Weld, an old aluminum can, and some clamps.
Oh man. So real quick to catch up on the chat, just want to say hello to one of my Asian brothers there,
Hell.
in '92. Big BSG fan. Love when Roof Korean jumps in and joins the discussion every week. Man, Roof, we've been so thrilled having you be a part of these discussions every
Hail to
week
that.
in the chat. Because you always bring forth some solid points and everything. Random Brad, love Random Brad. Random Brad's an awesome supporter, and of course, the cold-blooded critic. Cold-blooded, it's great to see you, buddy. You are awesome, and definitely appreciate your support, my man. Thank you. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting there, where Adama. It just kind of drops those orders on Garner, and he's not. Yeah, you could tell he's pissed because Lee did an end around essentially. So
I don't know that an end around was exactly what it is. I mean, he just couldn't support the opinion of Garner's commands, ideas, and he had good reasoning for it. And here's the thing: the senior Adama, kind of hinted that he may not believe exactly what Garner was saying because he solicited Lee's advice because he went, "We," right?
Yeah, because basically Garner was trying to insinuate that Lee and Kara agree with him, and that's not true. Adama could see right through that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, there was also I don't know if it was away script that if you kind of touched on that convo between Apollo and Starbuck, where Lee kind of pointedly brought out the fact that she shot him.
That really doesn't have much to do with the rest of the episode. It was barely a character building moment. Lee was trying to use that as a way to sort of get her to sort of be a little bit more courteous to authority and try to earn the respect both ways. But it was really hard for Kara to sort of register that. And I mean, the dialogue between the two was not the most effective way that could have been done. We saw some similar things like this regarding Zach and Lee and Kara earlier on in the series. That was far more poignant. This one here just felt like they didn't put enough thought into that aspect. At least that was my takeaway from it. It was just kind of like saying, "Hey, remember what happened last week? Yeah, well, they're kind of not over that right now, so we're gonna just address it quick, and then we're gonna get back to the part where Gardner leaps the Pegasus to rescue his birds." It felt like a contrived setup to just distract these two so that they couldn't be in the CIC to question the light speed jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, Garner was basically having serious doubts and trust issues with Starbuck.
And Lee himself as well.
Yeah. Wouldn't take his word for nothing.
Nope.
So that didn't help matters none at all.
No, and it revealed even more just how
What's up, Toxic Man Flu?
it was as a commander, and the inability to filter input and apply it, when needed. So yeah, I mean that's a character flaw in this character. So
Well, there's a interesting thing now, and again, man, God, this is just such a almost two different episodes in one, because we kind of have this scene now where Rosalind and Baltar are talking. He's in his lab apparently on the Big G at the moment again, and she kind of is. She kind of gets a skinny from him on that projection wise. In the next 18 years, the human race is done for. If people,
and they don't start having kids. Yeah.
If people don't have any kids, and
looks bad.
Yeah, and so that kind of cements it for Rosalind. We have, of course, the token manipulative moment of Angel 6 kind of patronizing him, oh, so she said now it's our administration and blah, 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 but
I would call that a little bit of the carrot and a little bit of the stick.
Yeah.
But
it's like, ooh, here's yummy carrot, smack.
But that, I think, kind of cements it for Rosalind. Like, okay, I really need to rethink what I've always thought. And then, it's what you alluded to, Script. Now she makes her speech discussing that there will be, a change in policy.
Yeah, because she basically says she's doing an executive order that's outlining to the encouragement of having children, and that terminations of pregnancy will have repercussions, not just by the mother but also the person performing it. And when you take a look at those types of laws, you're basically sacrificing two people for the actions of attacking one. So you end up reducing your numbers faster, essentially. But I mean, it's emotionally driven. It's also logically driven with regards to trying to preserve the race. So, I mean, it's definitely a double-edged sword. It's a no-win situation for Rosalind, and for a lot of people in the colonies, it's going to be something that's going to have repercussions throughout the rest of the series, as we'll soon see.
Yeah.
I mean, she's completely justified with saying, like, yeah, we need to save our species. And then what ends up happening is that Baltar comes in and, he gives his support for the administration, but then pledges his, announces his candidacy for president and says that he will not allow that executive order essentially to stand if he were to be elected. Because he's also a little bit right, where if we start treating our species like machines dedicated to a single purpose, we then start to become the very thing they're fighting against. And both make good arguments, which is what you want to do when you're dealing with any type of subject matter. You want to make sure that each side has the best argument put forward, so that it becomes more of a debate and a battle of wits, as opposed to just making one side look dumber than the other to push up any particular point of view.
Yeah. So, any thoughts, Culture or Bear?
No, I think Script Doctor said it quite nicely.
Yeah. I mean, that knocked it out of the park on that.
Yeah.
Well, what's more triumphant than combating a really well-formed argument, right? So, like if you can beat a really well-formed argument against your interest or whatnot, then your point of view kind of stands stronger. That's why free speech is so important, because you want the crazies to make their statements, and if you can just knock them down with the same level of words, with the same type of approach to the idea, and basically disassemble it for the craziness that it might be, depending on whatever that idea is, it lasts longer, especially those that are observing it as a third party, and helps prove or at least helps open up the debate to new topics of discussion for whatever that situation it pertains to. I am really tired right now. I'm sorry.
No, hey,
Yeah,
dude,
you're nailing it, man.
for being tired, yeah, I would say you're
On
you're like
target.
on target, as the bear said right now.
I'm like Cat after she gets spun around in the discombobulation machine. I'm just like I drew my pistol and hit the Cylon 5 times.
Yeah, you did, dude. You did. You're nailing it right now. But yeah, we moved to there's a big stir amongst the Pegasus. They're basically scrambling pilots. Lee's walking down the corridor. He asks Captain Case, aka Showboat, what's going on? And she said, we're preparing to jump. We're going to launch on the other side. And thinks it's a rescue mission. And then Kara's right there with them, and he tells Kara, "Hey, listen, get down the hangar deck and get in a Viper." And he said, "You're our best pilot." And she's like all happy because she gets to do something. So she's like, "It's about time you admit that." And of course, Lee walks back to the CIC. He's asking Garner, what's going on. And then we have what I like to call this is where I really drew the parallel to Crimson Tide, because if you remember the movie Crimson Tide, they had that sequence where, the XO.
Gene Hackman movie, right?
Yeah, Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. They have that really tense exchange where the XO is, going to relieve the CO of duty, because he believes that the CO is, leading them right into something that's going to cost a lot of lives and possibly not kosher. So he's going to take charge. And essentially you have that exchange here where Garner explains, I'm not waiting on any recon. My pilots are out there. I'm going after them. And listen, we wouldn't be fair, because countless times we've seen Adama kind of throw caution to the wind to go back and save a member of their crew. So you can't really fault Garner for wanting to do that at the same time.
Actually, we don't fault him at all. It's just it's not the goal, it's the method.
But he's just like, yeah, I ain't waiting on no recon. I'm just gonna go. And Lee's like, he's like, we should wait and do force recon and then, go in and do the rescue. And, and that's where they differ. And Lee said, well, you can't do this. We already have orders. This is an illegal action. It's going to force me to place you under arrest. And of course, as their voices get raised, all of a sudden the whole CIC is looking at them. And then Garner calls the sergeant of the guard over and says, this man's not a member of this crew. Essentially confine him to corners, because he was trying to get Lee to leave the CIC and he would not. So the sergeant takes him away. So I thought that was a very interesting parallel. It reminded me very much of that movie. Did you see that movie, Culture? Did you remember that?
I did see the movie. We're going back into, I think, 95, I believe, and I would have to have my memory refreshed a little more recently.
Crimson Tide?
Parallels. Yeah.
I have that on Vudu. Yeah, good movie.
Oh no, I agree. It was good, but I in order to clearly draw parallels, I'd have to have seen it a little more recently. But yeah, I understand what you're talking about and where you're going with it for sure.
Yeah. Did you get that vibe too, Bear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah. Because I had that feeling, but I didn't think of the movie Crimson Tide. But now that you pointed out, because I was noticing when Lee tried to relieve Garner of command,
Yeah.
and everybody on the bridge is just looking at Lee like, okay, we know your order's lawful, but we're loyal to him.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see it. You could see it. And technically, they should have relieved Gardner of command. Basically, that Marine, I had some very, very, very dangerous thoughts for that Marine.
Yeah.
Because basically, I was thinking, well, if I was that character in that show, I'd be telling that character, well, you know what, you're going to hang for treason, bud. Of course, that's the character that I would play.
So they finally take your advice, Bear, and after they had jumped away, on the other side of the jump, they launch one Raptor. Finally, they take your advice, and
They didn't get my memo.
Yeah, he's checking out both Raptors and sees that both Raptor crews are dead, and then oh shit. A Cylon base star jumps in.
Not just one, three.
Yeah. and well, I'm just saying, as far as the shot goes, you just see one jump in. I mean, they do say three, but you only see the one. But yeah, but then Garner's like, oh shit. He's like, oh my god. And of course, the base ships launched nukes. Pegasus is hit, and we've got one hell of a situation.
Yeah, when they hit them with the nukes, they take out the FTL drive, and they create a lot of vulnerability for the Galactica. So it's a problem.
Yep.
I mean, everybody saw it coming.
Yeah, so they're temporarily without FTL, and thankfully they I like the fact that Kara's like default back in command as soon as they show the.
Well, as soon as she launches the Vipers, yeah, she's just saying this is what we're going to do to hold off the Raiders.
Yeah.
Lee tells the sergeant of the guard, I think you have more important things to do, and he's like, yep. And so Lee returns back to the CIC, and we see Gardner pretty much caught in shock. He doesn't know what to do, and he's getting calls from engineering, and he's telling them how to bypass their issue, and they're not understanding. And that's when he kind of realizes, I got to get down there, and I better, push my ego aside and let Lee take charge of saving this ship and the birds. And that's kind of where that's where his arc kind of comes to a completion, where he's like, you know what, this is where I belong, this is what I know what to do. We see we follow Gardner as he gets to engineering, and he's getting briefed by the crew, and behind this one airlock there's an air leak and something to do with the pressure for the FTL. And he's like, just get me a sledge and a spanner, and I'm going to fix this by myself and close the door behind me.
The funny thing is when Lee takes over the command in the CIC, he's like, he has the classic deer in the headlights look because everybody's looking at him for orders. All of a sudden, he's like, "Oh shit, what do I do?" He has an "oh shit" moment for a second.
Oh, it's that "oh shit"! I just had steaming hot water dumped on me, and then like, what do I do? It's okay. Let's do this.
Because he finds out, he basically says, "What's the status?" And then they say, "Yeah, they've taken a bunch of nukes on the dorsal side of their ship." And he's like, "Okay, rotate us around to the ventral side, get the Vipers to cover our front." He may have been caught in headlights for that brief moment, but I would hardly call it comedic, because it's just okay, I got to switch over from, command official to okay, combatant, commander type of thing.
Yeah.
And he pretty much buys the Pegasus time so that Gardner can fix the problem, and that's exactly what was needed here.
Yeah, and Kara takes those orders right away and says, "We got your back. We got your back, Pegasus." And they go to work at drawing fire away from the part of the ship that has been heavily damaged, and kind of holding at bay the enemies. They do a really good job of that. And
Oh yeah, and Kara doesn't
Yeah.
challenge it. She doesn't say she has her own better idea as what we
Yeah.
would expect her to do if it was Gardner saying this, giving the same orders.
Yeah.
So we see a little bit of development there,
And
and it's just buying time now.
of course, some of these shots, just I want to touch visually on it for a little bit. Like some of the shots, man. When you get into like the space battle scene, got a little bit of a nice Mark 7 action. For those of you that prefer the Viper Mark 7s over the Mark 2s, like I do, I was pretty stoked because we got some Viper Mark 7 action against tearing up the toasters. So
Yeah, the Mark 7s look like a garden spike.
dude, they come on, script. They remind me of.
I use that to hold down a canopy in my yard.
Come on, bro.
he's right. They don't have enough control surface and atmosphere. They're great in space. They don't handle anywhere else. So, and they don't. And I don't look anything special. I mean, that's like saying, I like this, this rounded, this rounded Aston Martin versus the old classic lines. So.
Well, they look like F-16s, man. I thought that was cool. It reminds me of Iron Eagle. Okay.
We get into this argument like every 3 or 4 weeks. Just.
I know. And look, I'm not going to back off on my defense of the Viper Mark 7. I like it. Okay,
You can like it. I'm just saying that it reminds me of yard work when I see them.
Oh God.
Do you know what else is a Mark 7?
What's that? What's that, Bear?
The Lincoln Mark 7. 1988, buddy.
Go ahead and read the Boxy theory there, Bear, from Toxic Man Flu.
Boxy theory. Fired from Galactica Goodyear Viper Tire Factory for wearing his Make Adama Great Again hat. Boxy blows his 600 credits a week unemployment on hookers and blow.
That's pretty good. I like it, Tox. I like it. Very nice. Bruce Lombardo said puts on his Make Ty Sober Again hat.
Oh yeah, could you imagine the situation if Ty were in charge of the Pegasus instead?
Oh man.
Oh boy.
It'd be far more disastrous, I think.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
If he was sober, I could see things tight ship, but I don't see him being sober. Very
Yeah,
Oh, no, Pegasus is too much of a
exactly.
luxury ship. He's going to have booze all over the place.
So Garner, to kind of keep going through it. Of course, Garner's down there, and he made his way down to engineering. Lee's up doing as best he can in the Pegasus.
He gives orders to attack a specific area of
Yeah.
the base star to buy them some more time. So he's showing his aptitude with enemy engineering and knowledge.
Yeah, and we get a really cool thing. For those of you that love the namesake of this podcast. All right, we get a really badass shot. We get to finally see the Pegasus main bow battery just beat the shit out of a base ship, and it is so awesome because it
was awesome, actually.
It just like absolutely obliterates the first base ship that it hits. It's boom, and that bow battery on the Pegasus is no joke. This is why we named the show after the Pegasus. It's a freaking monster. But I thought the sequence with the bow battery firing was really awesome. Loved that effect shot. And the rest of this, it's just cuts in between of Garner assessing the problem. They got to fix the coolant pressure, and as Script said, Garner has to go in and close he closes the hatch behind him, instructs the crewman to do that, and they're working on that. But as we move along, we find out that the Vipers are starting to run out of ammo. The Pegasus is running out of ammo. Lee's starting to take evasive maneuvers. So, things are getting a little bit dire. And then, of course, Garner fixes the problem and gets the pressure leak to stop, and the FTL is now back online. So then Lee gives the order: begin jump prep, bring our birds back home, and then of course, just as the Cylons regroup and they're launching more missiles, the Pegasus jumps away in the nick of time.
Now, this is the point at which, or actually just a few minutes prior, that I had serious concerns with the writing, and this is something I think Script could address. Damage control teams carry around portable bottles all the time when they're doing work, and especially damage control work on ship. Why wasn't Gardner handed one of those DC bottles?
Oh, he asked for it by his engineer, but they said that they used them all up during fire suppression, which was apparently off screen.
Oh,
I mean, it was not easy to catch. I actually had to rewatch that again because I was like, wait, what did he say? Because he was expecting to have like a reserved oxygen tank, right? And and so that's when he says, okay, I'm going in there, close the door behind me because you'll be losing air. And
right.
Yeah, it was it was part practical, but also part contrived, because how convenient that they wasted all of their oxygen tanks to suppress a fire.
Right. What did they send a small army to put out the fire?
Like, were they not fully stocked during their training missions as they should be?
Well, not only that, I mean, if you're going to suppress a fire, all you do is you have your team don the bottles, take the atmosphere out of the room,
and then bring boom, it's gone.
Back to the Yeah. So right. It's just a hole in the writing. Now, I didn't hear what you're saying happened, Script, and I believe you but I did watch the episode again because I try to get the episodes before we do these all the time, and I didn't catch it again. And I've seen these episodes now dozens of times at this point.
Oh, I find myself having to put the subtitles on because sometimes the audio mixing on my DVD is not the best.
Yeah.
So,
well, I didn't have 5.1 on today, so it's possible that being mixed into a single or into stereo channel
into a stereo or mono. Yeah.
But it's just one of those things, and but it's still, that seems like a contrivance. It seems.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like the worst thing it could see is like, get me a Viper helmet because that's got oxygen in it. And, just.
Yeah.
I also.
I want to point something out.
Oh, go ahead, Mayor.
Something that the same scene where he wasn't handed an oxygen tank seems to be regulations that when the mechanics and the head engineer, isn't there rules and regulations that says, hey, you can't go in there without this? And the other thing, they're mechanics, they're patching breaches. Why didn't he have a plate with him and a little welder to weld that?
Actually, if it was in atmospherically, he wouldn't even need a welder. You just have to put the plate over it, and the pressure would suck it in and do the job for the time moment until they could get a proper team in there to replace it.
Where was his tube of JB weld?
Exactly, Barrett. That is what they needed. Damn it. Yeah. He didn't have any cracking JB weld.
And that's the other point that Culture made. Some of the writing, it's like,
yeah, it's spotty.
Well, this is what I mentioned, where like once you get past the Pegasus short stories in the middle of the season, it looks like the writers kind of accidentally intimidated themselves, and they're not able to sort of bring their A game for the remainder of the season.
Right.
Maybe that's true, but because again, I mean, he didn't even properly apply the spanner to turn the valve. You know, and he, as an engineer, I mean, you know, that's not how. And then he starts banging on it with a. I mean, that's.
I've actually seen that technique used.
Yeah, I've seen
in something similar like that. Only difference was it was actually a pipe wrench. You stick the pipe wrench in the crank when you're having a hard time, and you try
because you use it as the axle, and then you can knock it down. This one was a wheel turn, and the spanners, unless you're using the spanner and the sledge to loosen like rust built around the threading, it's not really going to do much on the rotation part.
I used to wash trucks, and I used to work in the back pump room, and we had valves like that were very similar. Sometimes after years of not being turned one way, you kind of have to get a pipe wrench out, stick it in the handle, and give it some gentle taps to get it loose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's only the last shot where he's got the wrench and he's pulling it to close that final valve that actually it makes sense, because he's using the wrench as an actual lever. Where everything else was the wheels that he was like either opening or shutting. I don't know how that technology works, but he got them green all across.
He was turning it counterclockwise.
Yeah. Well, you know, either way, Garner obviously croaks from lack of oxygen, and then it gets the FTLs back online, and Lee begins jump prep. And one of the other cool shots of this, kind of like that, where it's upside down, and you see the Vipers coming in for a landing upside down, because, you know, they
have 4 docking bays, right, for their Vipers?
Yeah, it's space. Yeah, it's space, and they're coming in for combat landing. So it is.
You're talking about the docking bays on the Pegasus.
On the Pegasus,
Yeah, there's one this way, and then there's one.
There's a ventral and dorsal one on the port and starboard side of the thing, so they can have.
In comparison, it's upside down, but you know, gravity plating is a wonderful thing, hey.
Yeah.
Well, not even that. Like, it just doesn't really matter in space, because that allows them to have double the quantities of Vipers to launch and retrieve.
Right. Well, you got to wonder, do they have gravity plating on those decks?
Oh, they do.
Running.
We see them walking around like normally, and they're not bouncing in there, right? So. Yeah.
Well, they haven't showed. They've always showed us the Galactica, and the Galactica is a little different from the Pegasus, because the Pegasus is a newer ship.
Yeah. So the Pegasus has like the dorsal and ventral entry points, and then the Galactica just has the dorsal ones, the ventral ones, so that they're able to they're only one way to land, and then they recess into the body. The Pegasus doesn't have the recessibility for their docking bays.
Yeah. So the Pegasus recovers the Vipers and jumps away safely in the nick of time. Then we see Lee debriefing with Admiral Adama in the Admiral's quarters. And, he asked Lee off the record what was Garner's biggest weakness. And I think Lee makes a good point, wherein he said, he was used to working with machines, and people, people aren't machines.
Yep.
And then, of course, we see Lee get promoted to commander and to skipper of the Pegasus. And I thought this was a great moment. You kind of hear the callback to Good Lighter playing in the background, which is awesome. Love Bear McCreary's music. Always loved Bear McCreary's music. And this is a really cool moment between father and son, because you could tell how proud Admiral Adama is of him. And also that, he genuinely thinks he picked the right commander this time for the Pegasus.
And what's really great about the music, like you were saying, that is the father and son theme that they play every time.
Yeah,
there's that father and son moment. It's that the what is that flute instrument called? It's a wood. It's a recorder.
The pan flute. The recorder or the pan flute. Yeah.
Hey, Drew.
So yes.
If you guys want to get a real good look at the Pegasus, you should check out Battlestar Galactica Razor. I own the unrated extended edition.
Well,
of it on Voodoo.
we're going to get into that, Bear, because next week, not to jump ahead, because we are going to finish the discussion here, in the next few minutes, because we're close to near the end of the episode. But next week, you guys, is going to be a big deal for us because we are going to review Razor. So, we've all kind of been looking forward to that. This being the Pegasus Actual podcast, we are going to review the definitive story of the Pegasus. So, you're going to want to make sure that you tune in next week. Razor is pretty awesome. It's kind of its own self-contained movie, so
yes, it is.
We're going to give it the appropriate amount of time, and we will probably do an extended episode ourselves. I imagine we will go live probably an hour early so that we can get it all in. But next week will be the Razor review, so don't miss that. That is going to be really fun. So, all right. Let's
also to add to that, Drew. If you'd want, we could all before the show have a party watch.
Yeah, whatever.
I have on Voodoo. I have the unrated extended edition.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to do it, brother. I don't care.
The extended edition is 104 minutes. I don't know how long the original was. Also, if you had a notion of doing something on Blood and Chrome, I also have that as well.
We might get into that down the road. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We might get into that down the road. But we're definitely next week will be the Razor review. So, yeah, you guys won't want to miss that. So,
as you all know, Blood and Chrome is about Adama.
Yeah.
In his youth.
But coming off the promotion that Lee gets, we cut over to Colonial One, and the Gemini's representative and Rosalind are kind of getting at it because she says she's not going to prosecute the girl. And,
the Galactica, her request for asylum aboard Galactica has been granted.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gone through, and the child has gone through with getting the pregnancy removed, and because she made the appeal for it when the law was still appropriate for it.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically just tells the Gemini's one that she got her pound of flesh, take the win, and if you try to go any further, you will have her and her entire administration to come down against her. So
yeah. I like how the end of that exchange, Laura just says, you have your pound of flesh, now take it, get out of here, take it and move on. That was a great little piece. I kind of like how Mary McDonald brought that across. That was great. Yeah. But then we have a nice moment between Apollo and Starbuck, and Kara and Lee, she congratulates him on the promotion, and he said, it could be a lot worse. She could be over there and be my CAC. And Kara says, I'll stay here and be Galacticus. So, it's pretty awesome. They reconnect, and obviously the bitterness between them is behind them. But I like the tender Lee Kara moments. I'm kind of a sucker for those. I always have been. That was like for lack of a better term, oh God, I don't want to sound like those Raylo crazies because I'm not like that. But Lee and Kara were, like if I enjoyed BSG couples, Lee and Kara were my favorite, and then probably, of course, Mama and Papa Dama, which is Rosalind and the Admiral. So, but Lee and Kara were always like my first favorite. I thought they had a good chemistry romantically, even though they were absolutely terrible for one another. But
absolutely.
But
that's like alcohol feeding alcohol.
But
yeah,
they had a good chemistry.
Yeah, although I really think that that Kara was never suited for anyone, and I think ultimately when we get to the end of the story, it happens the way it happens on purpose. So, but yeah, no, and again, I mean, rounding it all out, as we move on, and getting to the meat of the rest of the story, there's more political maneuvering to be done, and of course, Zarek is at the middle of it.
So. Oh yeah, we're getting to the fun election part of the story, the stuff that we've been promised since the first season. So it's going to be fun to watch and see how they play this out.
Yeah. You ever get the feeling that maybe they wanted Zarek, they wanted him to play Baltar, his character, the actor?
He would have been more masculine Gaius Baltar, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, think about the original Baltar. He was kind of masculine in a lot of ways.
He was a Klingon, dude. Like,
yeah. But honestly, I think Richard Hatch was probably the best character, or the best actor they could have chosen for Zarek's character. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And ultimately, Gaius has to be a weasel you don't like. I mean, he's got to be that oily weasel that is just
selfish.
Barely
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought the way that Gaius, man, that was just like such a super slimy way to do it in the middle of a press conference. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm running for president.
Well, yeah, but it also shows that as much of a genius he is, he's really dumb when it comes to people and manipulation. Because Zarek and Angel 6 both want him to be president for all the wrong reasons.
For what we would call nefarious reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And just that last little thing of Angel 6 sitting there and the slow clap. I was like, damn. It was a nice little sort of semi. Wouldn't really call it a cliffhanger, but a nice tension moment to end the episode on. So yeah, all in all, as far as I looked at this episode, again, I think my opinion's a little skewed because this has always been one of my favorites. So I probably rate it higher than if I looked at it objectively. So I would give this about an 8.5, but if I were to look at it objectively, it really kind of belongs in the 7 range. So yeah, I give this an 8.5. This is one of my favorites, and I will always maintain this as one of my favorites. So that's my feelings on the matter. We'll pass it on to Culture. What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, I look at it a little more critically, and and a lot of it has to do with the writing and pretty much everything that the script outlined, and it feeling like it was 2 different episodes, smashed into one, just because they couldn't flesh out enough of a story in either direction. But beyond that, there were so many different elements to it that I thought were, we mentioned contrivances or ineffective plot devices and stuff like that. So, and I don't think we explored enough of the characters, along the way. So to this is one of those that it barely ekes out a 7. I almost went 6.5, which would have been, less than, I think, of most episodes of Battlestar. But again, it's still 9 miles ahead of most everything else that's produced nowadays. So even at a 7, it's pretty awesome.
All right, script.
Well, I'll measure this episode against what we've seen of the series already, and I would say it's probably one of the weaker ones of this season.
Okay.
It definitely has its charming moments of, you know, Adama getting his command of his own ship, Kara kind of understanding the positions and then working on a team, and then also setting up the political intrigue between Rosalind, Zarek, and Baltar for the next episode. So this is really kind of like a hump episode. Just get us over to this next point. I like the debate on the population of the colony.
Yeah,
And I thought that idea was far better than what the execution of the show was. Man, I would have, like, if I could have been in that room, I would have just said, I can do this for 50 minutes, like, in my sleep. Just give me the debates and let me just run with it, because we could have a lot of fun with that. Getting Coddle involved, seeing, like, the family that this girl came from and why they are the way they are, and also exploring that the concept of, like, what's it like for the babies that have been born in the colony, and is this really the best time to start having kids, or should they actually start finding a world that they can create an infrastructure to and do something justified for these lives that have no frame of reference of what's going on around them, at least not for at least another 5 or 6 years, right? So there's lots of stuff that could have been explored on that subject alone that I would have loved to have gotten my feet wet in, as well as the relationship aboard. How does this Pegasus actually run compared to the Galactica? Because now that you cleared off the corrupt and insecure admiral and the lousy colonel that didn't really know what was going on, or his butt from his forehead, you've now got maybe this engineer in command, but even though he knows how he's basically like the best type of commander for peacetime, right? Because he doesn't have to worry about risk or anything. So I would love to have explored him trying to deal with, the fact that they're not really in a war, but they're just on the run. So they have to start thinking beyond the conventional. And I would like to have seen him and Kara and Lee butt heads a bit more. And I would also like to see how Kara is trying to, earn her place among her fellow pilots who are from another ship as well. So yeah, a lot of missed opportunities in this episode. But again, like when you compare it to the rest of Battlestar, yeah, it's not as great as the rest of the season. But when you measure it against the current science fiction stuff that we have now, it's of course leagues above what we've been getting.
Exactly.
And just by the fact that I could actually talk about it and I have a desire to elaborate on both those stories for their own merit, shows that at least they hit some of the main points of the subject matter that needed to be hit, and done so in a way where it's not, okay, let's make side A really dumb so that side B is the obvious choice to go with for ourselves and our audience. I like the fact that they had that tug of war back and forth, because that's where you get your drama, that's where you get your entertainment, and that's where you actually can start debates about the subject if you're hardcore fans like we are here.
Well, that's the beauty of this show, is that you guys, we when we do these, we can break these things down from a technical point of view on just the nuts and bolts of what entertainment should be. We're not sitting here skirting around blatant virtue signaling or anything like that. We're just breaking down what traditional movies and television should be, and breaking down those technical aspects of the writing and the production. We're not. You don't see a whole lot of the whole like other stuff that we have to deal with today that makes like breaking down a modern production so hard. We are actually doing it in the good old technical sense, which is fun. It's refreshing to be able to do that. So, all right, Bear.
Well, I thought this episode challenges the viewer that's watching this. It definitely makes you think. There were some areas where you maybe kind of feel like maybe some things were left out. I'm a little mixed. I'm like, maybe those were left out to leave it up to the individual to be fair to the episode. That may have been what was going on. And I think it was a challenge. I think it was a challenge to the viewer in their comfort zone with what they know about this show and the things that were going on. I'm sure quite a few people were probably kind of cussing at the TV screen a little bit because it's very challenging to watch. It's very challenging to watch Starbuck get basically not listened to. And the wisdom that she was talking about, sure, she's a loose cannon. She's stubborn, very, very stubborn. And but it shows that there's a little bit of wisdom in Starbuck about her knowledge about the enemy and stuff like that, and Lee's knowledge and Adama's knowledge, and the fact that they've all learned from Adama. So Garner doesn't really think about this, and doesn't think about that. Well, these people have learned from Adama, from his experiences and what he's taught them under his command. And this episode was a little challenging because the people that we're used to seeing that are in there doing this, doing that, and move from one move to the next, that's not happening.
Yeah.
And so that's what I found challenging about it. It was different. These people, they weren't in Lee and Starbuck. They weren't in their comfort zone.
No.
Everybody was looking at them like a stranger and an outsider.
Right.
And
So,
you know,
that was part of the legacy that Admiral Kane built on that ship. You know, when you have outsiders that step into that box, and then they're not really going to be readily accepted or kindly looked at.
They were used to a very heavy-handed Taltarian style admiral.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Who went to extremes.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, an episode like this, I would go like a 6.5, but I think I would probably give it a 7.5.
Okay.
Just for the benefit of the doubt, because maybe they put those things in there to make people think.
Yeah. Well, that they did a lot of that in this series, Bear. It was written because you had so many, I think, Deep Space Nine alumni writing and stuff for this. It was written in a very similar manner to challenge the viewer and make them think quite oftentimes when they did the episode. So that's why. But very, very good point, sir. Thank you. All right, so we've put another. We've come to the end of another episode, folks. It's always wonderful, to have you guys in the chat and be so supportive and, just enjoy this journey along with us as we revisit a great series. It's you guys make the experience for us when we come on and do the Pegasus Actual podcast every Thursday. I think all of us are jazzed to see what the chat offers, and you guys always bring it strong. You're the best chat on YouTube as far as I'm concerned, and I'm very thankful for all of you that are here every week and that hang out and contribute to the discussion, because all of you guys have really good points. I mean, Tox and Roof Korean and a lot of the other folks that comment on the episodes. You guys always put really thought-provoking points for us to consider in the chat that even we sometimes miss. So, thank you so much. And Lady Mist, you take care and be safe and have a great night. Much
Indeed.
love to you as always, because you are the lady of the Pegasus Actual podcast chat, and you are the chat mom. You really are. All right. So we're going to go around the panel. I'll let everybody let you know where they can be found. And then, folks, we will see you next week for the review of Razor. So you can you got a whole week now to get hyped for that, you guys. And it's going to be an absolute blast because Razor is pretty awesome. So, all right, let's go around. We went around one direction for our scores, and we'll go the opposite way this time. So, Script Doctor, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me here every Thursday talking Pegasus actual podcast, Battlestar Galactica with you guys. I also have a Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD and a YouTube channel, youtube.com/ScriptDoctor, where I've just dropped my reviews for the first 2 episodes of Lower Decks, and tomorrow I'll be working on my episode 3 review of that, which hopefully I'll be able to get done at the latest by the end of this weekend. If I don't pass out right away. And so feel free to check me out on Twitter, find out where I'll be, and come back next week where we'll talk Razor.
Yeah, and you know what, folks, give Script Doctor a round of applause in the chat, man. He has been doing such good work lately. He's putting out great content on his channel. The man's been busy, hard at work in his everyday job, and for him just to find time sometimes to be able to do all the myriad amount of streaming that he does with other people, and some of the streaming commitments he has is pretty darn amazing. But I'm really proud of him.
Tom is amazing. I'm just around. I just crazy on Thursdays.
But I'm really proud of him, and he's doing a great job. And you know, he been functioning on low sleep. He brought it strong tonight. All right, so Bear, where can they find you, sir?
Well, you can find me at Bear Nerd Fun. And some of you have noticed that there is a new song on my channel. And also we will, me, myself, Wes, Final. Did I say me, myself? Yeah, I did. Yeah,
it's you and that beard, sir. It's you and that beard.
Yeah. You can find us this Saturday. We will be talking about the Menagerie Part 2. Because this past Saturday we covered Part 1, and we'll have a special guest on. You're gonna want to tune in and check that out. And so we will see you Saturday, and like Drew says, and like a lot of us say, we got the best chat in the community. Hail to you! Yeah. Without you, it wouldn't be fun. So we'll catch you next time. Hail!
All right, and finally. Man, the myth, the legend, Culture Casino. Where can they find you, my dear friend?
Well, if not in front of a mirror doing my hair, you can find me on my channel, Culture Casino, here on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter, Culture Casino, also. And I do a lot of different live streams, and I do 3 videos a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And tomorrow is going to be all about Tenet, so that'll be fun. But do support Bear Nerd Fun, Bear Nerd Fun, and the new music stuff that he's putting together. So that's pretty cool. He's doing it regular now, guys. So something to check out every day. And then Script Doctors.
Just I want to point a little something out. I do not do the instrumentals. I have been using the instrumentals from the free audio section of YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah. Nice.
And I've been writing the songs and writing the lyrics and singing the songs. It's a little difficult finding the instrumentals that match just right. That's the most difficult part.
But yeah, check out his music, guys, as Culture said. So,
and then of course, Script is doing amazing stuff with Lower Decks. In fact, I think I've typed comments at Script and thanking him at length for suffering those episodes, so I do not have to.
Hey,
so I
Steven,
appreciate
what's up?
that, and y'all should too. And then of course, Drew is here through thick and thin, doing his darndest on bounding into comics and his own website, Sickest of All. So be sure you check those places out as well. So that's all I have to say.
Yep, and of course, guys, we will probably have some build up for you this week, because I'm sure that we'll be hyping the fact that we're reviewing Razor on Thursday. I cannot wait again to do Razor, but until next Thursday, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you on Thursday. So say we all.
Sure we
So
are.
say we all.
So say we